Thank you for joining me. I'm Savannah from Black Witch Coven, and this is my 2025 version of the Ask Savannah question and answer series. I started this a couple of years ago and have taken about 2 years off answering these questions for multiple reasons. We'll get into that over the coming weeks if you want, if you're interested. But now that I'm back, I'm going to start slowly and just answer questions like I normally do on occultism, witchcraft, black magic, demons, any question that you have that comes to magic and you're probably scared to ask it in some other forum, ask it. You're not going to upset me. You're not going to offend me. Also, if you have a different opinion than mine, that's totally okay. On the left-hand path, we are on a path of enlightenment. And that means all of our journeys are different. We're all at a different stage. I don't want to make it sound like one is better than the other, but according to our own life path, our own growth, we are where we're wanting to be, I suppose you could say that. And I don't feel like anyone is better off than somebody else because they have some title or whatever. But the left-hand path is definitely that path where we go on that journey. And so long as nobody bothers us, we should be free to do whatever we want. And so that does mean you can have a different opinion from your fellow left-hand path occultist. And that's totally okay. They're doing their thing, you're doing your thing. And so long as you're happy and you're getting your results, why does it matter what someone else thinks? Stick in your own lane. Be happy with what you're doing or change it. So that's my thoughts. So if you heard something somewhere else or you have a different opinion on mine and you feel like you want to ask me another question about something, do it. You're not going to upset me. It's not a challenge. I won't take it that way unless you're rude. And then I am very happy to set my boundaries down and quite firmly. So let's start with some housekeeping. If you have a question to ask me over on the website, blackwitchcoven.com, on the top menu bar, you'll see the link to Ask Savannah. And it's just easier if you drop your question in there because my guys are going to see that question and then put it forward for me to answer in a video. So with that being said, let's get into this week's question. So this first question is from Christina, came through on December 23rd. And she said, hello, BWC and Savannah. I truly admire the authentic passion you have for our community. Thank you. What is your take on spirit dolls? Keeping one for housing a servitor, protection spirit, or simply a vessel for a specific spirit to inhabit? Do you have proper care, offering, or feedings to appease and honor such spirits? Personal items to place in or on the doll if needed. What are your thoughts? Traditions and spirituality are vastly different all across the globe. They have different perspectives on this topic. What is yours? All the best from the Pacific Northwest. I love the Pacific Northwest. Such a great, mysterious, mystical place in the USA. All right, Christina. So what is my take on spirit dolls? I love spirit dolls. In fact, the reason why I chose your question first, and very timely actually coming through on December 23rd, I was speaking with my own group about the importance of a spirit doll. And I broke down the different types of spiritual dolls and their different purposes because they all do have different purposes. So for example, like a chaos sigil is creating an energy. So it's creating an energy with a purpose out of nothing. And you can program and feed that normally through sigils. So our chaos servitors are created from a sigil. They're programmed and they're programmed energy. And even with those types of energies, I wouldn't call that a doll actually, but the energies, they do need tending to. The good thing about them, once you're finished with that sigil, with that energy, you can dispose of it. You can get rid of it because it served its purpose. And there's many ways of doing that. Nothing's right or wrong, but the idea is to decommission that energy so it doesn't, some of them, depending on the purpose, can take on their own life form and get a little out of control. Think of chaos magic or those type of things where a lot of people are putting energy into a sigil to create something huge. You can then take that sigil and put it into a spirit doll, creating a spirit doll. Sympathetic magic dolls also occur in witchcraft. They have done so for centuries. So the online fight between who was first to create such a doll, I mean, my opinion is who cares? That's why I always back out of these groups, because I don't like arguing with people about such silly matters, such a waste of time. But these dolls can be used from anything from healing, protection, manifestation, cursing, binding, love spells. It's the same concept as I spoke of before, but these dolls are released. Now talking about what I do, I have a spirit doll, such as this little one that I've been working with for a long, long, long time. But I will say that this doll was created as a mini me. And in other videos in these days, I'll laugh and I'll say, here's my mini me, here's my baby. So she's had multiple reasons for existing. And one major reason is for protection. I don't do, over the past couple of years, I haven't done a lot of work on the astral planes, but path working has been a large part of my spiritual development. That's going up to the astral plane, working in a spiritual temple, doing a lot of spell work on the astral plane. And so when my body is here and I needed a protection servitor or spirit doll, this doll served that purpose, guarding me. Over the years, she has evolved. When I've traveled to lots of different places to learn different magical systems, this little doll sat with a trusted member of my group, and I had to give it to a trusted member of my group because I can't leave this doll alone. She is so connected to me. It's a mirror, so it really does. I mean, that bond is so strong. If something happens to her, will it happen to me too? Well, I can't risk that. So Gypsy back in Sydney is my dolly sitter, and I know she's not going to do anything to that doll. I know it. So she was trusted in looking after her when I have been basically out of commission, spending a long time either traveling in remote areas or doing stuff that has been somewhat dangerous. This is my mini me, looking after me, protecting me in some ways. Also, this doll has worked on fellow Coven members. So when we're doing spells around healing, people have had surgeries, and while they're knocked out, spiritual people are often very vulnerable when they're under anesthetic. These types of dolls can be the protection, guarding you from incoming attacks. And once again, I would never just put all my magical protection into just one thing, but it has a purpose. So it's its own entity at this point. It's separate from me. So if I was to let it go, it can have its own life force without me. It could create chaos. It has the ability to separate from me at this point and turn against me if it so wished. That is absolutely possible with these dolls. So it could be there's lots of different names you could have this, but this doll isn't getting buried. Perhaps when I'm dead, it'll be up to my closest to decide if she goes down with the ship. I don't mind throwing my toys in my box, burn me, I don't care. I'll be on a different plane anyways. But she's really, really important. That's how important this doll is to me.
So to answer your question on do you have tips for proper care, offerings or feedings to appease and honor such a spirit, that will also depend on your comfort level. So if you're just beginning with this type of situation and you're quite nervous about the left-hand path or doing such a dole, it can be quite scary just to get in there and offer a spirit blood. I have to be careful because for me, I've been doing this for a long time. So it's just like talking about ordering an Amazon shopping list. I'm so accustomed to talking like this, and I understand it might be a little scary for someone just coming into this. So if you're just creating a doll, how you honor it is by spending time, because this is a commodity we have limited resources on. We don't have a lot of time, we have limited time. So spending time with the spirit is very respectful. You may offer incense. Now, generally spirit dolls and such don't have a preference of scent, such as if you're working with a demon or some other god or goddess who could have a preference for incense and food offerings. Spirit dolls don't. But to give them the time to take the effort to have a clear space where you're going to house them, that could be seen as very respectful. Lighting a candle, showing them veneration like you would an ancestor. You know, you're building up a relationship. In some systems, you may be offering food. That really depends on you and where you are in the world and what you're comfortable doing. It's not necessary if you're building a spirit doll situation. What I do personally, which is your question, I offer blood. Blood is a charging agent, especially when you're forming this relationship with this doll. You can see actually blood all over this. It's actually housing a spell for me right now. So I give blood offerings on the petition. I'm tying that to the doll. I'm actually feeding the doll blood as well, because it really does charge magical tools and talismans better than any oil, better than anything else. So depending on the purpose of your spiritual doll, you would treat it appropriately. Once again, there's no such thing as better. It's what works for you. And for me, the offering of blood is very powerful, and I receive great results from giving of that blood. Blood's also important when you think about protection and banishing, because what I'm doing is asserting my spiritual power. I'm any of these medium to low vibrational spirits that are around, I'm letting them know I'm stepping up and I'm not scared. I'm stepping forward. So it really is a symbol of your authority when it comes to magic. It's the most magical item that we could possibly give. But if it's not for you, then, and if you're not ready to do that, you're not ready for that intensity of power yet, then don't give blood. Now, she isn't as high maintenance as what she once was. I feel like I get her and she gets me. And now she's just part of this spiritual little universe I have within my own magical system. And everyone knows where everyone fits and everyone's getting on well. There's a lot of respect going here. There's a lot of offerings anyways. And I don't get the feedback from her that she needs anything else. Now, of course, I will prick my finger with a lancet and, like a diabetic pin. It's just a prick. A blood droplet will form and I might put it on the doll. If it's a spell petition, I'm going to put that blood on the petition to activate it, to charge it. Maybe on the doll's lips for that offering or feeding, whatever you want to call it. But that's how I keep it active and connected to me. That's me. So I hope that answers your question. I hope that answers your question. Now, I will add here, I wrote a blog post yesterday on this. What was the blog post called? It was called, Is There a Difference Between a Servitor and Spiritual Bonding? Because there is a difference. You have to be careful with these types of spirit entities. Once you create them, they have their purpose, they're bonded with you, they're working with you. They are now something that it is a real entity. it's not your dog where you can tell it what to do and it's just going to do it instantly. And if it doesn't do what you want it to do, you get upset and just toss it away. That is one way to cause huge problems. And remember, these entities are timeless. They can keep on, they might wait until you're comfortable and secure and then remind you of their presence. So just be always respectful with what you do with magic. That's why I like to give these little like warnings, because it is great these days. Everyone has access to magic. Everyone can hear what we're doing and so forth. But if you don't have years of experience and you just jump in and you do something, especially with something like these spirit dolls, their own entities, and you piss them off, they can cause absolute chaos. It's like having a demonic pact and not honoring the pact. The spirits might start to create thoughts and ideas in your head as a punishment to you, and then you go off and do something crazy, right, and get yourself in trouble with the law, and then blame somebody else for it, maybe the doll. But really, it's you as a new practitioner not understanding and honoring the system of magic. And you should not do this type of thing if you don't understand the consequences, if you don't have respect for, and I'm saying this not as a judgment to you, it's just remember that they're their own entities and you don't control. It's like having a best friend and then you piss off that best friend and now they hate you. Sure, they were once your friend, but now they're not. Now they're your enemy. And so they're going to make your life living hell if they so desire. And remember, these dolls don't have the same concept of time. They don't have limited time like we do, so they can pop in and out of your life whenever they want and cause lots of chaos. We don't want that too. We are very mindful of the fact that creating such entities and handing them over to beginners is not without issue. And so I'll just see how I go with the offering of these types of entities out there to the people. I don't want someone to go out there and then disrespect this because the doll didn't do immediately what they wanted it to do. And so they toss it over their shoulder. And then, of course, they become maybe possessed, or the doll gets them to do something crazy. The spirit gets them to do something crazy. And then that action is blamed back on me. So any type of work that I do on that, you've got a whole legal disclaimer yeah, you've got some legal shit to sign off on first. But remember, if you're creating a doll for something like death work or cursing or hexing, you have to be such an experienced practitioner, because death energy or that type of energy is heavy. And if you can't control that, if you can't ground that, if you can't stand up to that level of spiritual force and hold your own, it will consume you. Don't think it won't. And even to remove that level of spirit from someone, it's not guaranteed. Some people need to just die with that level of chaos in their life. So I'm just saying, don't do that type of thing unless you're super experienced. So my final thoughts, yes, I think every witch, especially a witch, should have a spirit doll. I think occultists should create one too, to have that little mini me that you can work with, that you can program, even if it's just for protection. And as you evolve, it evolves, it helps you with your magical workings. See where you go with it, but don't get overboard too quickly. Don't program it to do something that you're not willing to upkeep. And work within your own magical system. Of course, I'm an occultist, so I'm going to do it a certain way, but you don't have to do it the way I do it to have such a good effect. You could create a hoodoo or voodoo style doll. You could do a witchcraft doll if that's in your system. I would recommend starting like that, where you're creating the doll, you're seeing what it's like to work with that energy, either through spell work or something else. And then when you're finished with that spell or for that period of time, then you get rid of the doll, or you bury that energy from that spirit, or you disconnect from that. So, and then cleanse and so forth, so you can move on. That would be the best way to do it. So my final thing is, if you're in it for life, if you're in occultism or witchcraft for life, of course, create a spiritual bond. Let's go for it. We're here forever. But if you're not, I don't know. I wouldn't do it if I were you. But anyways. All right, so that's it for my first week back in 2025. I'm so happy that you're joining me. And any questions, remember, head over to the website, blackwitchcoven.com, ask Savannah, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. All right, blessed beast, one and all. Catch you next time.